It happened on a quiet Thursday night. The kind of night that should have been unremarkable, just another evening spent winding down after work. Rachel had gone to shower, leaving her phone on the nightstand, the screen glowing softly in the dim light of our bedroom. I wouldn't have looked if not for the notification that lit up the display. A simple message preview, a few words that changed everything. Your ass was great and tight. Can't wait for next time. At first, my brain refused to process what I was reading. The words blurred, my mind grasping for a logical explanation. A joke? A spam message? But then I saw the sender's name. Logan. Her fitness trainer. A guy she always spoke about with casual indifference, brushing off any hint of suspicion. He's a professional. He just wants me to reach my goals. I had believed her, dismissed my own gut feelings as paranoia. I picked up the phone, my hands already clammy. The message app opened easily, no password, no fingerprint lock. Rachel had never needed to hide anything before. Or maybe she had just gotten careless. The full conversation unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. Messages filled the screen, casual yet intimate. Last night was incredible. You drive me crazy, babe. I keep thinking about you on that bench, your legs shaking. I love how what you get for me. The bile rose in my throat. The timestamps mocked me. Some messages were sent while she was lying next to me in bed, others when she was staying late at the gym. I felt like a fool. I had trusted her. I had defended her when my friends joked that gym trainers were nothing but glorified pickup artists. Not Rachel, I told them. She's not like that. But here was the proof, staring me in the face. My grip tightened on the phone. 1,000 thoughts flooded my mind all at once. I wanted to march into the bathroom, throw open the shower door, and demand the truth. I wanted to smash the phone against the wall, watch it shatter like the illusion of our marriage. But I did none of those things. Instead, I forced myself to breathe. Forced myself to think beyond the raw betrayal. What good would an impulsive confrontation do? She would deny it, twist the truth, play the victim. Rachel was a master at weaving excuses, bending reality to fit her narrative. I needed more. I needed proof, not just of what she had done, but of who she truly was. Still gripping the phone, I scrolled further. The betrayal ran deeper than I had imagined. Logan wasn't just some one-time mistake. This had been going on for months. Compliments, secret meetups, inside jokes that I had never been a part of. And then, the final insult. Buried between their flirtations was a message that made my stomach churn. I can't believe your husband doesn't even try back there. His loss, my gain. A laugh emoji followed. I gritted my teeth so hard my jaw ached. That single sentence burned hotter than the rest. Rachel had always refused to do that with me. Always brushed it off with a dismissive laugh, a shake of her head. And yet, with Logan, it was suddenly on the table. That was the moment the anger turned into something else. Something cold. Something calculating. I set the phone back down exactly where she had left it, careful to leave no trace. When Rachel stepped out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, smiling at me like nothing had changed, I smiled back. Because she had no idea. She had no idea that the game had just changed. And she had no idea that she was about to lose. Rachel's routine was as predictable as ever. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, she left for the gym, dressed in her usual tight leggings and sports bra, hair tied up in a high ponytail. She always made a show of it, mentioning her workout plans in passing, making it seem like just another part of her self-improvement journey. I watched her leave that evening, keys jingling in her hand, the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. The same perfume I had once loved. Now, it smelled like deception. The moment the door closed behind her, I got to work. I had spent the previous night researching. There were plenty of small, discreet cameras available online, ones designed for security, for keeping an eye on unsuspecting intruders. I found one that was nearly undetectable, a black device the size of a pen cap, easy to conceal. With express shipping, it arrived that afternoon. I made sure she was gone before heading to the gym myself. Logan's gym was high-end, filled with sleek equipment, polished mirrors, and air thick with the scent of sweat and overpriced protein shakes. The front desk girl barely looked up when I walked in, just another husband picking up his wife, another clueless fool. I already knew where Logan took his clients for their private sessions. The storage area in the back, hidden from the main workout floor, was perfect for discretion. It was the place where extra mats, resistance bands, and cleaning supplies were kept, where no one had a reason to check unless they worked there. I found the perfect spot near the top of a shelf, wedging the camera between stacks of folded towels. The angle was just right, facing the small bench in the corner. If anything happened there, I'd see it. And then, I waited. The first night, I forced myself to act normal when Rachel came home. She was glowing, her skin flushed, her muscles loose. She stretched in front of the TV, casually mentioning how intense Logan's training had been. My stomach churned, but I only nodded. She had no idea I had been at the gym that same night. That I had planted the first step in her downfall. For a week, I let the camera do its work. Every evening, I retrieved the footage, watching alone in the dark, my laptop screen the only light in the room. What I saw made my blood boil. Rachel was exactly what I suspected. Her sessions with Logan weren't about fitness at all. They started on the main floor, yes, some weightlifting, some stretching, but then, without fail, she followed him to the back. The door closed behind them. And then, the truth unraveled in full clarity. It wasn't just quick stolen kisses or hushed whispers. It wasn't just Rachel giving in to temptation. It was deliberate. It was planned. And she wasn't alone. Logan wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was everyone's trainer in ways their husbands would never suspect. Every night, a different woman. Same storage room. Same routine. He had a system. They came to him willingly, giggling like schoolgirls, melting under his touch. These weren't naive women caught up in a single moment of weakness. They knew what they were doing. They wanted it. Rachel was no exception. She wasn't special. She wasn't Logan's favorite. She was just another name on his list. A stupid, blind participant in his personal side business. Watching it unfold, my anger shifted. It wasn't just rage toward her anymore. It was disgust. Rachel had traded in our marriage for this. For being nothing more than one of many. I rewound the footage, letting it sink in. Some of these women I recognized. I had seen them at dinner parties, met their husbands, shaken their hands. And yet here they were, laughing in the arms of the same man, moaning in the same room, caught in the same web of lies. I didn't just have proof now. I had leverage. I spent the next few nights buried in footage, replaying the betrayals over and over, forcing myself to watch every second. Not out of self-destruction, but out of necessity. Every frame, every angle had to be reviewed, compiled, and edited with precision. This wasn't just about knowing the truth anymore, it was about making sure no one could deny it. Logan was a machine. The way he moved, the way he manipulated these women, it was rehearsed, perfected. His routine never changed. Flirtation on the gym floor, subtle touches under the guise of correcting their form, stolen glances that turned into hushed whispers. And then, always, the storage room. Rachel was just one of many. The thought should have hurt, but at this point, the anger had drained into something colder. The personal sting of her betrayal dulled under the weight of a much bigger realization. It wasn't just my marriage that was a joke. I had started recognizing faces in the footage. Women I had seen before. Not strangers, but acquaintances. Some I had met at dinner parties. Some had laughed with Rachel at social gatherings. They had exchanged pleasantries with me, smiled at their husbands, kissed their children goodnight, only to sneak off to the gym for their turn with Logan. The list of names grew. One by one, I matched them to their social media accounts, scrolling through their profiles with growing disgust. Every post was a performance. Smiling family photos, anniversary tributes, declarations of love. Women who had just spent an evening in Logan's arms were posting about their wonderful husbands the next morning, captioning pictures with forever and always. The hypocrisy made my skin crawl. But I wasn't interested in them. I was interested in their husbands. It wasn't difficult to track them down. A few searches, a few profile links, and there they were. Their faces stared back at me, men just like me. Clueless. Trusting. Believing that their wives were spending their evenings improving themselves, getting stronger, when in reality, they were just another name on Logan's roster. Mike. James. David. The list went on. Each one had something in common. They didn't know. I imagined their reactions. The moment they would realize that everything they thought was solid was built on lies. The way their stomachs would drop, the way their hands would shake as they scrolled through messages, just like mine had. It was time to wake them up. I pieced the footage together carefully. No unnecessary fluff. Just the raw, undeniable truth. Every clip was time-stamped, every name matched to a face. There was no room for denial, no space for misunderstandings. This wasn't hearsay. This wasn't just a suspicion. This was proof. I sat back and watched the final product play on my screen. A silent exposé of Logan's true profession. The hidden side of the gym that no one talked about. The services that weren't listed in any membership plan. The final step was the delivery. One by one, I found their email addresses, their social media inboxes. Some required more digging, but I was patient. Each husband received the same message, short, direct, with an attachment that would change their lives. And then, I sent them. I sat there, watching the progress bar load, feeling no satisfaction, no thrill of revenge, just closure. The truth was out. And now, it was only a matter of time before the storm hit. The messages were sent. No explanations, no preamble, just cold, hard evidence attached to a simple email or direct message. Each husband received the same package, their own personal window into the double life their wives had been living. And then, I waited. I didn't have to wait long. It started as a slow burn, the kind of tension that lingers in the air before a thunderstorm. Phones lit up across the city, unread messages becoming confrontations, homes turning into war zones. The first sign of impact came through social media. What was once a quiet stream of family photos and motivational quotes became a battlefield of cryptic posts and deleted accounts. Some women deactivated their profiles almost immediately, as if shutting down the internet could erase their actions. Others went silent, waiting in fear for the inevitable reckoning at home. The husbands, however, weren't so quiet. Rumors spread at lightning speed. Friends whispered. Coworkers stared. The gym, once a thriving business filled with trusting clients, became a radioactive zone. The betrayal wasn't just contained to individual households anymore, it was public. Rachel came home that night looking like she had seen a ghost. Her hands were trembling, her phone clutched so tightly that her knuckles were white. She tried to act normal, but her entire body betrayed her. The way she hesitated in the doorway, the way she avoided looking me in the eye, the way her breath hitched like she was fighting the urge to vomit. She had seen it. And she knew that I had seen it too. Excuses tumbled from her lips, fragmented and desperate, but I barely heard them. She wanted to explain, to soften the truth, to twist reality into something that made her look less guilty. But there was nothing left to twist. The proof had spoken for itself. A slow, humorless laugh escaped me, pure disbelief at the audacity of it all. There was no anger left, no sadness, no desperation for an apology that would never mean anything. Logan had already done all the talking for her. Rachel knew it too. Her lips trembled, but there was no fight left in her. She wasn't just guilty, she was exposed. And she wasn't the only one. By midnight, the gym was a war zone. I didn't have to be there to know what was happening. The news spread quickly, hushed conversations turning into loud accusations. Logan had built his little empire on secrecy, on the unspoken rule that what happened behind the gym doors stayed there. But now, there were no secrets. There was only rage. The betrayed husbands weren't quiet about their revenge. Windows shattered, lockers were ripped open, equipment was overturned in blind fury. Logan's office, the place where he probably stored every gift, every keepsake from the women he had seduced, was torn apart. And Logan? He ran. There was no fighting back. No smooth talking his way out of this one. His charm, his physique, his carefully crafted reputation, they meant nothing now. He was no longer the confident trainer with a line of eager clients. He was a fraud, a marked man with nowhere to hide. His business was gone before the sun rose. By morning, the gym had been officially closed. The doors were locked, the windows boarded up, and the once thriving social media pages had vanished overnight. No apologies. No explanations. Just erased, like it had never existed at all. But everyone knew. Rachel barely spoke the next day. She drifted around the house like a ghost, checking her phone constantly, waiting for some miracle that would never come. Her friends weren't answering her texts. The women from the gym had turned on each other, desperate to shift the blame. It was chaos. And I simply watched it all unfold. Because for once, I wasn't the fool. I was the storm. Rachel broke down completely in the days that followed. The tears came in waves, drowning every conversation, every attempt to justify herself. She cycled through every stage of guilt, denial, anger, bargaining, desperation, grasping at anything that might make me stay. She called it a mistake. Said she had been lost, confused, going through something. But mistakes are accidental. This had been a choice. A series of them, calculated and repeated over months. The carefully planned meetups, the secrecy, the lies, all of it pointed to something far worse than a moment of weakness. It was who she was. And I wanted nothing to do with her. She begged me to talk. To work through it. She painted pictures of regret, of redemption, of a future where we could somehow put this behind us. But every word she spoke felt hollow, like a rehearsed monologue meant to manipulate rather than heal. I had spent years being the loyal, devoted husband. The man who supported her dreams, trusted her without question. And in return, she had made me the fool. Not anymore. I filed for divorce without hesitation. No drawn-out fights, no messy public arguments. Just paperwork, cold, simple, and final. Rachel wasn't just losing me. She was losing the stability she had taken for granted. The home, the comfort, the life I had helped build. And while I walked away with freedom, she was left with nothing but the wreckage of her own choices. She tried to fight it at first, tried to stall the process with emotional appeals and half-hearted apologies. But the truth was too heavy now. The entire town knew. She wasn't just the cheating wife, she was part of a scandal that had burned everything down. Her friends distanced themselves. Some out of shame, others out of fear that their own secrets might come to light. The women from the gym had turned on each other, their once private affairs now public humiliation. And Logan? Gone. Vanished like a ghost, leaving nothing but a destroyed reputation and unpaid rent on his failed business. There were whispers that he had skipped town, running from angry husbands and lawsuits that were bound to come his way. But that wasn't my problem anymore. The day the divorce was finalized, I felt lighter than I had in years. It was like shedding a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying. The house felt different, quieter, cleaner, free of the poison Rachel had brought into it. I packed what I needed and left. Not out of anger. Not out of spite. But because I refused to let her be the defining chapter of my life. There was nothing left to say, no parting words that would change what had already been done. She had made her bed, and now she would lie in it, alone. And I walked away, without looking back. Because the best revenge isn't destruction. It's freedom.